Hi, and welcome to Mid-South Viewpoint. I'm Byron Tyler. Glad that you could stop by on today's program. We are going to have an afternoon full of surprises. And I say surprises because I just met some new friends this afternoon. And let me back up just a second before I introduce our guests. The program Mid-South Viewpoint, we get involved with the community. We share life and just really what God is doing in different ministries in our area. And we've had such a variety of opportunities to bring the Archbishop of Rwanda to Dr. Tim Keller to homeless people living on the streets of Memphis. I mean, just a wide range and variety of ministries and programs we bring to you on the Tuesday and Thursday of Mid-South Viewpoint. Well, today, I was looking at the schedule, realized that there was an opportunity to find somebody to help me fill the time. And I didn't want to just fill the time, and I asked God, Lord, who do you want me to have on the program today? Well, a couple hours later, my son called me and said, hey, Dad, I just met these folks, and I think they would be great guests on your program. So that's why we have the Holland family here today. They just drove into Memphis, I guess, just a couple of days ago on their bus. And we have in the studio with us right now, we have Craig, Jana, Graciana, and Banjo are here. The Holland family. Welcome, first of all, to Memphis, and welcome to Bott Radio.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Now, Craig, originally you're from Australia, I believe.
Yeah, that's where I grew up. My family all are still over there, and I found my way over here in my young 20s and met this lovely lady and raised our family here.
What about your journey with Christ? When and how did that begin?
Well, my dad's a pastor back in Australia. Well, he passed away about 12 years ago, but I grew up with my dad pastoring a church, and so really grew up with faith being in our household, but for the most part, always really slipped under the coattails of my parents, I think, and oftentimes I think people give pastors' kids a little bit of probably grief sometimes, and in my case, I think they left me alone a little bit, just assuming I was doing fine, and it wasn't really until later in life that I made my own commitment and really owned my faith without, I think, just sliding under the radar of most people.
Why come to the United States? What was the original, thought by coming here?
I was into punk rock music at the time, and in Australia is a very different country to the United States in that Christianity really isn't talked about. Spirituality in general of any faith really isn't talked about, and we're known as an atheist country. And so I was kind of immersed in the music industry over there, and was just longing for relationship with other peers that shared a faith, but also this love of music. And I just couldn't find it over there. And I heard about some different bands in the U.S. that were Christian bands, but also playing this alternative music that I was drawn to, and came over here to really find it myself and find some of those people. And that's what got me here. Yeah.
And so where did you meet Jana, and how did you meet Jana?
Well, I met Jana's from the Midwest, and I was playing in a band at the time that was touring around quite a bit. We were playing Christian punk rock with a big Celtic influence. Our band was called Ballydouse, and this is probably 15 years ago. And we toured up to Green Bay, Wisconsin, where Jana happened to be living at the time, and she was a part of a music venue up there, and she helped, she was one of the volunteers that helped house bands that would come through. And it was a Christian venue, and we performed there, and she invited, we had a couple of married couples in the band that she hosted, and had us all for breakfast. But it was really through a relationship with the female singer of our band that she became friends with that is how we really got to know, is when she would come and visit.
Jana, was it love at first sight?
Actually, it was not love at first sight. I was very overcome by the band's persona, the tattoos and piercings, and I hadn't quite ever seen folks like that up close that had a faith, and so I was very intrigued. And Craig was sort of the most docile and normal looking, I guess. So I didn't really even, I don't know.
So you sort of picked the cream of the crop there.
I did.
Yeah.
Well, he was one of the only single ones too. But it was really a journey getting to know the community he was in and the world that he was a part of. And then through the course of that, I just had a moment where I knew that was going to be my husband someday. So,
how about your faith journey? Where and how did it begin?
Oh gosh, it's a really long story. But I grew up a PK as well, and my family moved quite a bit. It was a pretty rigid family. I had, a lot of pressure to sort of behave and act a certain way, and so I learned very quickly how to do that. And in the process, abuse took place in my neighborhood, my neighbor, and there was never a culture in my household to really talk about things. It was kind of more of you just keep everything quiet and be good Christian people. And then when I was 16, my dad had a major, I don't even know if you call it a conversion, because he was already a Baptist preacher, but he had this real turnabout in recognizing how he was not really being a man to my mother, a husband, a father. And so he just had this enlightenment, I don't even know what else to call it, that just brought him to his knees. And so the tides turned a bit, but by then I was really just kind of, really disengaged with it all. So it took me until I was 26 to really embrace God's grace and love for me. And that's when I got pregnant with Graciana, and I call her my saving grace. And she, her arrival sort of shook me to the point where I realized the inability I had to control anything in my life and to make anything happen. And so a lot of healing took place after her birth, and part of that healing brought me to Craig, and just really longed to have a very purposeful life, that every day would be a day that I would see God's glory, that I would experience grace, that I would see God putting the body together and his faithfulness. And so it's just been a journey ever since then.
Craig, I think oftentimes we find ourselves in those places in life where we're at the bottom, or we're it's really tough in life for us, through circumstances or things that whether we control or don't control them. But even we're in the middle of that, we always have a tendency to think, I'm still in control. And Jana made a great point there by saying that she had to come to that place where she realized that, hey, I'm really not in control, and that can be a real hard place to come to sometimes. I guess maybe pride gets in the way or whatever, but it's a difficult place to come to and say, hey, you know what? I can't control these things in my life, and I really need to maybe, find what God has that, that I didn't know that he was able to offer and provide. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think it's particularly something that guys struggle with, in that they oftentimes trying to manage things, and oftentimes I was guilty of it most of my life, of trying to make things happen in a way that wasn't probably how I should, and wouldn't often let people be a part of my life. And so as I was struggling through things in life, I bottled it up, tried to manage it, tried to present an exterior that I think made me look like I was doing fine, and lived under the radar a little bit, rather than being okay with, hey, this is really who I am, this is what I'm struggling with, and inviting other people in to minister to me and be a part of that journey. And that for me was where my conversion, I feel like, really happened. I feel like for a lot of years I could play the good Christian role and act the part, and I believed in God, but I really didn't believe that God cared for me the same way he cared for everybody else. And I had a really hard time trusting that the Lord really was going to take care of me, and also acknowledging that God was responsible for providing for me, whether it's my job or my wife. I think a lot of times we like to pat ourselves on the back of, well, I just worked hard to accumulate what I have, or to to do well at what I've done. It's all on me. But really, God's the one who's preparing these opportunities and the path that we go down. And I for a long time, didn't acknowledge that, his role in my own life.
Now, you have a family that travels. You actually live in a bus.
Yeah, we do full time.
And you travel all over the United States. I think before being here in Memphis, you were in Little Rock, I think you told me?
Yeah, the last couple of days we were in Hot Springs, Arkansas, actually. But yeah, we travel in it full time. We've been in it for about 3 years now. And it wasn't really something that we had set our minds to. This was going to be our lifestyle or something that we wanted to do. We love adventure, but I've always been kind of a ducks in a row type of guy of like, well, Jana would be dreaming about, different ideas of exploring or traveling, and I was always like, well, that doesn't make any sense. How do I pay for that? How do I make it happen? And that's getting back again to me managing things rather than trusting the Lord that He'll provide for us regardless. And we, about 4 years ago, had a period in our own marriage where we were just really hurting and struggling, and I caused an offense in our marriage, and we had to work through that and reconcile and figure out, are we going to make it through this? And do we really trust that we were put together by the Lord? And it's going to take some work, and it's not easy, but this is worth pursuing because the Lord put us together for a reason, and there's something down the line that He's going to use us for as a family. And so really that's what got our adventure on the bus started, was realizing that, no, I can trust in the Lord, and it doesn't make sense on paper to travel around in a bus year-round with our kids, and just a lot about it that doesn't make much sense. And we took off and did it, and it's every day is a miracle, really. I don't know how it all happens sometimes, and sometimes there's different things that test us that we don't know the answer to. And you've just got to look back and remember, no, this is how the Lord provided for us, how it took care of us, put us in relationship with these people that then led to this. And, today being here with you is an example of that. Of, we were sitting around having lunch or morning tea with Jana's cousin Joe, who works over at High Point, and just, catching up and sharing life and what we've seen on the road lately. And all of a sudden we met your son, and here we are with you. So, it's just that openness each day of what's the Lord going to do in our lives today, and being prepared to share, and whether it's with family or over the airwaves or just with someone we meet. I think if we have an openness to share our own lives and our own humanity, I feel like people are drawn to that and are willing to engage in conversation.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Craig. I think so often we live our Christian lives in a box, and we have a certain way, this is the way it's going to be. And even the way we look and perceive other people, maybe through external experience, external appearance. I know, Jana, you made a comment about a moment ago about the piercings and the tats and all that. And I know so oftentimes, especially those who feel like they're doing pretty okay with God, have a tendency to look down on others, that have that appearance. And so we can quickly judge without really seeing the heart and the intention of the heart, So we really got to be careful there.
Yeah, I would say that I tend to be more of a learner, and so changing the perspective from judging and beginning to move into why is that person invoking a feeling in me that is not necessarily comfortable, and then moving into that mystery to explore who is this person and how did they get where they are, and how are we connected, because we're both made in the image of God, and
Right.
and how are we, where's the common ground, and in doing that we find that the Lord gives us favor with all sorts of people that we never could have imagined sitting across a table and having a meal with, from people that struggle with their sexuality to politicians to people that are addicted to some form of drug or alcohol, or to people who are just, really good, quote unquote, people that are trying to do really great things in their community, to people that are involved in, sort of underground grassroots social justice work, to Republicans, to Democrats, to it's just across the board. We meet the most amazing people every day, and I just don't know if God would trust us with those people if our hearts were hardened toward them.
As you travel, and you meet and talk to folks, where are people at today? Where are you finding people? Where are they at today, do you think, for the most part?
Well, we really rely on the Lord to put us together with the body. I mean, there's what media tells you what's going on with Christianity. But then how many of us really take time to go visit the church next door? Or, we kind of all are in our pods. And so we're in a really unique position because we travel full time. We get to join into so many different groups. And, there's a level of discord from a national level among the body with all the different denominations and politics and everything like that. But when you start to go down into the grassroots and you remove commerce and you remove, surface ideology and you get to the heart of the cross, we have met some amazing things. God is doing awesome things in the body that would blow your mind with, people groups that are not on the radar. So, I don't know, I'm thinking of one of our favorite stops is not necessarily because we love the city, because it's a love-hate relationship with Phoenix, but one of our most impactful moments was getting to Phoenix, Arizona and meeting a fella named Steve, who's now passed away. But he's just a fella who really felt compassion for his fellow man and wanted to bring a sense of humanity to those who are downtrodden and tired. And so he would take art, photographs of nature and poems of Emily Dickinson and, just beautiful art. And he would go down into this area called the Zone on a very regular basis, building relationships with these people. And at first I was like, the Christian model is to take a track down or to bring some food, and so I was trying to understand, Steve, tell me what your mindset is here. What's, going on? And he said, well, it's just about being present with these people and persevering, we live in a culture that wants that quick
instant gratification.
We want that quick stop. We want thousands, walking the aisle and raising their hands, which is an awesome thing to want. But really, when you look at Jesus' journey, he persevered. He just kept walking, and he'd rest in the woods for a minute and pray, and then he'd keep walking. And it's such a beautiful picture. Steve really did that well. And so we went down into this area with him called the Zone, and we brought our instruments, and we ended up playing all these old-timey songs. I just started flooding back from my youth, and the people would start singing with us. And
that's what people were asking for. Most of the folks down in the Zone, it's really a gathering of homeless folks from all different backgrounds that the city has kind of designated this area as an appropriate place for them to be. A lot of the services are there and whatnot, and it kind of is their model for keeping the city somewhat clean, and so it's a big, conglomerate of different backgrounds that are in there.
A lot of mentally ill.
And so a lot of them were actually asking, the thing that they saw us with instruments, we didn't even have to start playing. We weren't going there to perform. We just walked in with instruments. They were asking, do you know any old hymns? And that's what they wanted to hear, were old hymns. And it was really about them wanting to engage and sing. And we were just providing the key, and just playing along. But they were just gathering and wanting to sing. It
just brought a spirit of peace. And when he'd hand them the pictures of the photographs, you could just see dignity come upon them because they're in such an environment that's, it's a concrete jungle. There's no nature around them. They aren't going on hikes. They're not seeing beautiful artwork in their church walls. It just is this desolate place that the world has decided is where these people need to be corralled. And it was just fascinating to see how these little pictures or this little song just brought this sense of breath and peace and, okay, I am human, I am connected to other people. So that was a really beautiful picture to us, and just things like that we see across the country. And, Steve, he's not part of any big mega church. He's kind of a loner. He's he's not trying to formulate, he wasn't trying to formulate this. He just was living incarnately.
Yeah, and
It was beautiful.
I think something you said there is something where everybody longs for, just a breath of peace, I mean, we're all looking for that.
Yeah.
And, of course, you and I know the only true way to find that is in Christ. But even in Christ, sometimes our focus gets blurred, on that. And so we kind of have to be, retuned again, brought back to that place. But just that moment, and music is such a key thing in my life to bring me just reflection and thoughts of peace and, and just worship. I mean, it's just I'm glad God gave us music.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, before we continue, I'd like to talk to the children. And,
Awesome.
Graciana, you are how old now? How old are you?
I'm 17.
17 years old. And what do you
Yes.
think about traveling all over the country in this bus?
I enjoy it. I love traveling. Yeah, it's good. The first couple years, I wasn't as keen to travel as much. It was my first couple years of high school, and I was missing all the
Prom.
like prom and dances and missing my friends and things. But now I really enjoy it. I know that I'm getting experiences that they aren't. So it's good. I love traveling overseas as well and visiting new cultures and people. And
what are some of the places that you have visited? What are some of the cultures and people that you've experienced?
well, we've gone all over the states. We haven't gone up east yet, but we've gone more towards the West Coast and the South.
So everything's pretty much been in the U.S., your travels?
Yes.
I thought you said overseas. I'm sorry.
Well, we've gone to Australia a few times.
Okay.
Because my dad's from there and half of his family. And so we go and visit them. And the last 2 times we've been, we have toured and played some music. So that's been really good to meet new people there because their culture is pretty different from the States. But yeah, and then traveling here, we've been all down the West Coast and towards the South and the Midwest areas and up towards like North the Dakotas and Idaho and all there.
What stands out to you, through the time on the road, being with your family, experiencing people and in different environments? What stands out to you the most?
I really don't know. I mean, each place is different, but
Each place has its own flavor, I guess.
Yeah, but it's also because we're always like together as a family. It's not as much me going and touring that city or going like as a tourist. It's us living with people, and so I feel like they all aren't the same, but they're all like family, I guess. Like they're just familiar. It's not like it's not like culture shock every time we go because we move at such a slow pace and really dive in to be with people.
What's been one of your favorite places to be and spend time at?
Well, we're in Austin, Texas, and I have a lot of friends there that we've met over the years of traveling, and I love the city. There's some really great tacos there called Torchy's Tacos, and they're pretty good. So it was really great to see my friends. It was a really great time.
Hey, Banjo, how about for you? Talk about your travels and just what it's like to be on the road. And how old are you?
I'm 12 or 13 now.
You just had
Getting
his
used to it. It's been fun on the road.
Have you made some friends?
Yeah, I've made a lot of friends around.
Tell me a bit, what's been one of the kind of the funnest things you've been able to do in the last couple of years on the road? Something that really stood out that I'm sure you have a lot of experiences, but maybe something that stands out to be just really, really a lot of fun for you.
Well, I like going to like all the different restaurants, I guess.
Okay. You like to eat some food, huh?
I like food.
You like food. Okay. Now, I know the Holland family, pretty much, Craig, you guys sustain your family's income by doing music and ministry opportunities where God provides and things. Is that pretty much how you do that?
Yeah, well, probably not in a conventional way though. We play music in the folk market. We have just chosen to go that route. That was what we were playing in originally, and really felt like the Lord had opened some doors there, and we should just pursue that. And so that's where we perform. And along the way, that does pay quite a few of our bills, but not all of them. And so we really we haven't gone any conventional business plan of raising fundraising or going the normal route you should as missionaries. We felt like we really just needed to trust the Lord and go. And so we do have people that support us along the way, but it really is, that's the treasure of seeing how God works, is because it's different all the time. We have strangers come up and hand us cash. We have folks that support us through an online site that we have.
And what's that website? I would like to give it out, because you really are a family of missionaries.
Yeah, we do view ourselves as missionaries, absolutely. That is our heart of us performing our music, us living in people's neighborhoods. We park our bus right on people's streets or in their driveways, and that in itself attracts neighbors out, and they want to come and hear our story. Why did you do this? Why are you traveling in a bus? And that's really where we get to share our faith and how the Lord's providing for us, and just really how we can learn to trust in Him and have faith in Him. But the website, Jana, you're better at all this stuff.
Yeah, it's if you go to Tillers and Travelers, TILLERS and Travelers, TRAVELERS.org. Tillers and Travelers, like how you till up the ground. Yeah, Tillers and Travelers.
That's the website.
Yeah.
And what's modern days?
It'll link you. There'll be a little picture of a world with two little children holding hands. If you click on that, it'll take you to our area where you can donate. And no pressure,
No.
But we really do rely on the body.
Well, what I would like to do is have our listeners experience some of your music, if we can.
Great.
You talked about those hymns that were a real ministry to the homeless people there in Phoenix. Maybe we could share some of those if you would like, or if you have something else you want to share.
We can do some of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we set up right now and enjoy some music with the Holland family here on AM 640 Mid-South Viewpoint on this edition of our program, and we're going to set up for that music right now.
Broken, my Lord, my
Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. How I long to be in that number. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints marching in, go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. How I long to be in that number. Oh, when the saints go marching in. How I long to be in that number. Oh, when the saints go marching in.
Well, that was music from the Holland family here on Mid-South Viewpoint today. And Craig, Jana, thank you so much for sharing what a wonderful sound your family has, the harmony. And, I mean, you have a smile on your face when we're talking about it. This must be a real special ministry for you.
It is. It's been amazing. You know, when I had, we like to talk about it when I did conventional life before, when I had a job I went to and a normal home that didn't roll around the country. You know, I missed out on a lot of opportunity to just experience life with my kids. You know, it was very separated. They went to school, they had after-school activities, I had my job, and we met for a brief time every evening, you know. It's somewhat the typical dream that we're all living, you know, the American dream. And now it's really a treasure as a dad to be able to share nearly my whole day, every day, with my kids and with my wife and experience what God's doing around the country and experience other people's lives too as a family. So we have a lot of treasured memories. Yeah, it's great.
Well, I want to thank each of you for what you're doing for Christ's kingdom, allowing God to use you and really to share with us today. It was very much a divine appointment, I believe, that we got together, and want to invite you back. When the bus comes back on, the city comes through the city of Memphis, please stop by and let's get back together. Maybe we'll have more time for more music next time. But the story was so intriguing. I felt like we needed to spend more time in sharing there. But thank you for sharing music and your hearts with us today. Graciana, and Banjo, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Hey, Banjo, I saw you on that skateboard earlier this afternoon, so I guess you like doing the skateboard. I know that.
Yeah. I like skating.
Yeah, I could tell.
Skating and food.
Skating and food.
Skating
and food, all
and
right.
surfing.
And surfing.
And Minecraft and Legos.
And Minecraft and Legos.
There you go. Well, listen, we're going to say goodbye on that note, but thank you again so much for stopping by. And before we do say goodbye, let's remind our friends listening to learn more about the Holland family. And if they wanted to get a CD, you've got CDs available. Would that be going to the website, Craig, the best way?
Yeah, so we have two separate websites. We have a band website, thehollands.org. That's where you can find our music. But our ministry is at tillersandtravelers.org. And that is where we talk more about our faith and what we do as a family on the road in between performing.
Okay, fantastic. And that website again, one more time.
tillersandtravelers.org.
tillersandtravelers.org. Well, we're going to say goodbye now, but thanks so much for stopping by. Friends, thanks for listening to this edition of Mid-South Viewpoint. Our guests, the Hollands, and sharing song and heart with us today, and I do appreciate them stopping by, and I hope they've been an encouragement to you too. Please check out their website, learn more about their ministry, and pray for them as they travel and share the love of Jesus in the hearts of broken people and people in all phases and walks of life where God's allowed them to speak. So we're going to say goodbye on that. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.